Hello and welcome to another episode of Geek Girl TV. As usual, I'm your Geek Girl host, Steve Park, the girl who this week is coming in loud and clear. This week, Steve writes in and tells me what many users have said before, that Geek Girl's audio blows. After further investigation, I found out that my line-in microphone is completely broken. And unbeknownst to me, my oh-so-helpful iMac decided to internally ignore my audio preferences from the broken peripheral to either the built-in microphone or the microphone in the iSight. Oops. Anyway, since Gary's not here today, I took the liberty of solving the problem by borrowing his snowball. With that out of the way, SD writes, I recently came across your show on YouTube, and now I'm hooked. I spent the better part of this week watching all of your earlier episodes, and I'm happy to say that I finally caught up. One question though, what about the comics? I've yet to see you devote any time to them. Are you a Marvel zombie or a DC girl? Have you read Infinite Crisis, 52, or Civil War? What are your thoughts on them? Come on, Geek Girl, give us comic book readers some love. As you know, I love superheroes, but I've never really been too into comic books as a medium. I guess they're a little too short for my attention span, and plus you have to wait a whole week or a whole month to get the next edition. I've never really had that sort of relationship either with a comic book store, that I'd come in every week. In the past, I have made an effort to collect certain independent comics, but never really stuck with any particular title for very long. When it comes to the big boys, DC and Marvel, I'm far more apt to read one of the anthologies, so I can digest longer story arcs in a single sitting. Between Marvel and DC, I've always been a big Marvel fan. As far as DC, I've never been a huge fan of any of the characters really, except for maybe Batman, whose constant brooding can really get you down. But he's way cooler after the last movie. Plus, the artwork in some of his comic books is phenomenal. And if you're a Marvel fan or a DC fan that can laugh at himself, you have to check out It's Just Some Random Guy's YouTube page. It's Just Some Random Guy makes parodies of the Mac commercials called I'm a Marvel and I'm a DC. It's freaking hilarious, and you can find it in my YouTube favorites folder if you have any trouble finding it. He's got 4 so far, and I really wish he'll make more. I just went to see the latest Spider-Man movie, and I really enjoyed it. I heard a lot of people say that it was too long and they tried to do too much. But seriously, I don't see myself complaining about too much Spidey. Especially if they're not going to make another movie with this same cast. I'm kind of glad that they tried to fit Spider-Man's 4 and 5 into this movie. Seriously speaking, I think that the Spider-Man movies are some of the best movies ever made. I know if you're like a dogmatic film student, you probably just want to puncture your eardrums hearing me say that. But seriously, I think that they are phenomenal films. First of all, they have an amazing story. We can thank Stan Lee for that. And not even Hollywood could mess it up. They made some changes, but really the foundation of story is still there. And really, it's the monomyth. The every story. Hero of 1,000 faces kind of thing. You know, just like Star Wars. I think deep down, it's hardwired that everybody wants to be a superhero. And Spider-Man does such an excellent job of telling that story. Only the difference is that Spider-Man, over the original Star Wars, for example, has the advantage of such greater technology to be able to display the fantasy in a moving picture like never before. I know a lot of people would say, oh, best movies ever made. It's got to be like Citizen Kane. It's got to be like The Godfather. It's got to be these cinematic masterpieces like Casablanca. I will agree with you that those are very awesome movies, and we needed those movies to make even better movies. I think that movies are getting better and better. I believe that a great movie director stands on the backs of giants in order to reach a little higher. I have no doubt that a movie like Spider-Man could only come to be after an entire century of rich filmmaking history. I'm talking about the innovative movies that introduce things to the filmmaking process that allows us the luxury today of almost taking for granted. And visually speaking, let's face it, Sam Raimi does not have to spin wheat into gold. He gets to reference decades of Spider-Man comics done by extremely talented artists who designed each and every frame to be exciting, expressive, and dynamic. It seems like a no-brainer to turn that into a storyboard. And then, well, it's his job to turn the storyboard into a movie. So anyway, that's my defense of Spider-Man. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. Either way, let me know at geekgirl@clevermedia.com. By the way, if you happen to know Sam Raimi or Stan Lee, please let him know that I should play May Parker in her own movie maybe, or Spider-Man 17, whichever comes first. Okay, so anyway, back to comics. As I mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of the brevity, and I'm more apt to purchase something that's graphic novel length. So I like manga quite a bit, and in fact, the prize of my comic book collection is a first edition, #1, Japanese Sailor Moon. I've heard wildly different estimations about how much this comic book must be worth, so if you happen to have any real idea, please let me know again at my email, geekgirl@clevermedia.com. Also, if you happen to know Gina Davis, please let her know that I should play Sailor Moon if she ever gets around to making the movie. I can do the scream perfectly. Trust me. So I have just a couple manga right here in the office as reference because, you know, I'm an artist and I'm allowed to have comic books and fun things in the office. Anyway, first of all, I have Love, Hina. Love, Hina is your basic romantic comedy. There's a boy, there's a girl, there's some confusion. It's hilarious. Anyway, artwork is alright, and it's cute. I have my very, very favorite comic book, and it's Footy Cootie. I have 1 and 2 here at the office. These are the English versions. I have the Japanese versions as well, but they are in cellophane safely at home. The artwork on these are super original. I just love it. It's representative of several different styles. It's different than the movie, but it really does it justice. If you've never seen Footy Cootie, that's FLCL, I so recommend that you go out right now and acquire it by any means necessary. I got it like way back when it was new, even in Japan, and so I have the Japanese versions that I had to rip myself to versions that I could view, and the first edition doesn't even have subtitles, but fortunately for you, it's come out in the United States already, and you can get all 6 episodes, all in English or subtitled if you prefer. Footy Cootie comes from Gainax, you know, like Evangelion, so very much quintessential anime. The story is something like Footy Cootie used to be the hobby that the people at Gainax used to sort of practice on, do their fun, creative sort of things, but it was so awesome that they published it, and I don't exactly know the story, but there was some sort of financial difficulty, someone cheated on their taxes or something, and they needed to cash out on the series. So it ends a little prematurely, you can tell, but the story and especially the artwork is just so amazing and representative of so many styles. It's so creative and by far my very favorite anime ever. Oh, look at the time. Alrighty, gotta go. I will see you next week. Meanwhile, send me your questions, your comments, and if you were a superhero, what would your name and power be? Send that to geekgirl@clevermedia.com.